I've been thinking about it, and I'm actually quite happy being considered a weirdo by society. Indeed, I've come to view, especially since my discharge from the psychiatric hospital, I've come to view society as phony and evil. Indeed, it is. And a lot of the reason for this has to do with the mass media perpetual bombardment of the populace that they should behave in a certain way. And indeed, the population views people like me with disdain, but I don't particularly mind that. Indeed, as I've stated before, I'm beginning to realize that a lot of my problems stem from interactions with other people. So I'm trying to limit my interactions with other people as much as possible. Indeed, many of the UK population don't seem to be aware that we are walking into a serious situation which shall evolve, I believe, as the hybrid UK Civil War conflagration that I have explained in several of my previous videos. Though I may be wrong, but this is the way it seems to be happening to me. Indeed, the social media platforms have algorithms engineered to either cause your psyche to become far right or far left. Indeed, this is all social engineering to divide the population against itself. And with the population divided itself, no one is examining the cryptocracy, and no one is examining the people who are actually coordinating this great social divide. No one is looking into the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst networks and the British intelligence networks above a certain security clearance that are the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst networks. Indeed, the Nazis did not lose the Second World War. They merely collapsed themselves and rebranded themselves under thousands of different corporate identities. And intelligence services do not collapse. Indeed, with the end of the Second World War, the Nazi intelligence service did not suddenly disappear. And it is re-emerging very prominently in the current climate, and indeed has penetrated and absorbed the majority of the Western and Russian intelligence structures. Indeed, people are also distracted by such redacted releases as the Epstein files, which basically is put out there by the intelligence services to cover up for the real cryptocratic networks that are running the show. Indeed, the Epstein files is effectively the dangling out of the Hebrew ethnic group as the conspirators by the real conspirators themselves, i.e., the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst networks interconnected with British and American intelligence services. Indeed, I've explained in several previous videos about how the Anglo-German cryptocracy uses the Frankists as a scapegoat and basically engineers the population to believe in a grand Hebrew conspiracy. Indeed, I have fallen for this myself at various stages of my research. Indeed, recently I fell down a rabbit hole and started linking the Frankists to the top of the pyramid again, as I have done many times. However, I cracked myself out of that shell pretty quickly again and started focusing back on the real players in this agenda. Indeed, it is interesting how these Nazi intelligence networks have coordinated the security services of the Russian Federation. Indeed, the Russian security services, the FSB, are themselves coordinated by the Order of Malta, who are a Vatican-linked network and therefore link back to the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, and the Sovereign Order of St. John, who have many connections to the old Tsarist Okrana, as well as to elements within the Cheka of the Communist Party. And these Sovereign Order of St. John networks are essentially a Masonic body that were originally set up by the networks connected to the Romanov dynasty in the early 1800s, which coincides with the exact time that Prussian intelligence, the forerunners of the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst, were incorporating the Russian intelligence structure as an asset themselves. Indeed, the Sovereign Order of St. John are a direct Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst network and contain both the successors of white Russian networks and the successors of red Russian networks. Therefore, it's an all-encapsulating network. Indeed, there are many theories that the Sovereign Order of St. John networks of white Russians were heavily connected to the assassination of JFK. Indeed, Miles Mathis, whom I no longer trust, believing it to be him to be a team of operatives at Langley creating this information. Indeed, he posited that the JFK assassination was staged, and there could be some truth to this. Indeed, the Kennedys may have been trying to take over the entire organized crime networks within the US and therefore stage their own deaths, but I'm not entirely sure about this. But working on a theory that there was a genuine assassination of JFK, the White Russian Sovereign Order of St. John networks were heavily interconnected with this, especially connected to Anastasi Vonsiatsky, the aristocrat who was basically the head of the White Russian, basically fascist networks in exile that were Sovereign Order of St. John initiates. Indeed, these White Russian networks were heavily involved in the creation of the Central Intelligence Agency, along with the Nazi Continuum Gehlen organization. Indeed, out of the networks that the Gehlen organization incorporated and grafted onto the CIA in collusion with Wall Street lawyers, a lot of these networks were themselves of white Russian heritage, as well as Belarusian and Ukrainian heritage, and formed a vast intelligence syndicate, basically, which was operative against the Russian communists, seemingly. However, as I stated before, all of this seems to have been orchestrated and choreographed by the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst, which makes for very interesting thinking when you begin to link up all the connections. Indeed, it's interesting that since the fall of communism, which one mental patient once told me the Soviet Union collapsed because of heroin, which is a very interesting way of looking at it, and how the collapse of the Soviet Union links to the conflict in Afghanistan and the proliferation of heroin in Afghanistan and the Western intelligence networks proliferating the smuggling of opium processed into heroin from Afghanistan, as well as the GRU. Indeed, many Afghan opium farmers would trade their product at the Tajik border with Tajikistani border guards in exchange for Kalashnikovs. These Tajikistani border guards would then take the opium crop to the cities in Tajikistan where it would be refined into heroin. This heroin was then transported by helicopters overseen by GRU operatives to Moscow and St. Petersburg. So it's very interesting indeed. The point I was making that was with the collapse of the Russian Federation, the Russian intelligence structure was then fully absorbed by Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst elements through the networks of white Russian emigres returning to the Russian Federation, who grafted themselves onto the former KGB structure and basically linked up with KGB elements to create this super cryptocracy, basically. Indeed, it's quite interesting that the Putin syndicate is trying to close down the Telegram channel and force Russians onto Max, which is a state-run, FSB-overseen social media platform. Indeed, it seems that a form of fascism is arising in Russia. Indeed, there are many entities vying for control of Russia, and of course there are NATO and Chinese interests to splinter Russia. So it is interesting to see what is going to occur. Indeed, one of the points I was making was that the FSB, the Russian security service, does seem to be overseen by the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst via networks of the Order of Malta and the Sovereign Order of St. John, which are basically at times indistinguishable, both being Masonic entities interconnected. Indeed, many operatives are both Order of Malta operatives and Sovereign Order of St. John operatives. Indeed, all of these occult orders are intelligence networks. A key example of this was Count Anton Turkel, who was a GRU operative, but also a Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst operative. He was also an Order of Malta Hospitaller and a Sovereign Order of St. John initiate. So it's interesting, the crossovers. He was in effect a super spy. So it was viewed that he was working for the Soviet Union, but it could have been that he was actually working for the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst networks, though the GRU and the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst are, in many senses, interchangeable, interconnecting and sharing operatives and sharing intelligence, and it seems that the GRU are basically subordinate to the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst. Indeed, it's very interesting how all of these cryptocracies interlink, and it's very interesting to see the future of the United Kingdom in regard to the cryptocratic structure, basically. Indeed, the various ethnic mafia syndicates in the United Kingdom from all around the world that come to the United Kingdom to profit through criminal operations. These networks are all basically overseen by British intelligence, which above a certain security clearance is the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst. So this Nazi continuum network does seem to be overarching, and I am certainly of the mind that the Nazis did not lose the Second World War. Indeed, it was Nazi programming that was part of my behavior modification under Hellfire Club psychiatrists a couple of years after the Grenville Lodge Enigma incidents. And after my return from the Balkans, I was programmed as part of the Gladio 2 program with various Nazi fetishist programming mechanisms. And this behavior modification technique is used mostly on mental patients by the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst connected networks of British intelligence, as well as US intelligence and even Russian intelligence and Ukrainian intelligence. And they program mental patients with Nazi programming and basically create the conditions whereby they behave in pretty crazy ways. And this is all part of a grand experiment being conducted by the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, the end goal being the implementation of a total surveillance society and a technocratic order, though there shall be loopholes for organized crime networks, but Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst wishes to be the kingpin of basically everything. So the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst are in the ascendancy, and we are approaching a huge cataclysm and I doubt it will be long before the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst reveals itself in some form, probably not under that name, and indeed, whether or not the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst is the pinnacle of this network. Indeed, there are so many networks interweaving within this network that can be traced back to the Bavarian Illuminati and beyond. Indeed, I will continue with the term Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, but whether or not this is the apex of this cryptocratic network, I do not know, and further study is required. Indeed, I'm going to leave it there.